Everybody, welcome to the Jay Young Show. I'm J.R. Young, and I'm the host of the Jay Young Show, and I also have a co-host, Jordan Soto. Hey, Jordan, how you doing today?
Hello.
How are you?
Pretty good. Just decided to do an updo today. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but we're working it, Jay.
Yeah.
How about you? Any haircuts lately?
I had a haircut yesterday, and I am ready to go. I'm ready to rock and roll, and man.
You always feel like a brand new person
I
after
know.
you get the hair done or whatever.
I know.
It's always a fun thing.
It really is. It really is a lot of fun, and I feel better. And did my little goatee. I can't figure out what to do on my goatee thing, and all that. So. Anyway,
it's
I feel
really
good.
popular on social media nowadays to watch like the barber videos and things like that, and they get so creative with the designs on the hair. So I don't know if you'll ever try anything that crazy with the on the side of the head, but maybe.
Things people do, I guess, but yeah, the shave every 3 days or 4 days. I've heard that before. I've heard just different, I don't know. It's just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But.
Well, now there's the whole talk about like the straight razor versus like the razors that we buy in the store nowadays and things like that.
Yeah.
And so, it's always fun. I'm glad I don't have to deal with that, to be quite honest with you.
But you have a lot of other skincare things that you do that, to make yourself look beautiful. So, hey, it's.
Well, you have to look the part, right? That's a part of being an entrepreneur, which is what this show is all about, is the ins and outs of entrepreneurship and the things that entrepreneurs do to reach their version of success and the hard work along the way. Jay, I know you want to help lots of people, but even if we can just help one person, I know that is the goal. So with that, we have an amazing guest today. Jay, you want to introduce him?
Yeah, today we have Leslie Armentrout. She's the president, co-founder of Silver Cross Energy Partners, and out of Houston. And I'm honored today because really, not a lot of people start their own business. I mean, they don't take the leap. They don't go, hey, because it's hard to put together a business and say, okay, I'll put together a business. Now, a lot of people can do that, but you got to feed your family, So it's like, okay, well, and then I got to meet my overhead needs every month. And man, we've been through some ups and downs, and I know in our business, and I got a whole story about that. But this isn't about me. This is about Leslie. Leslie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for having me, you and Jordan, and I'm honored to be here with you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You started your career in Midland, Texas, the home of the Permian Basin, back when, I'm assuming, back before horizontal drilling and fracking. What was that like in Midland, back drilling vertical wells?
Actually, we did drill horizontals back then.
Did you?
So we drilled them in CO2 floods, and we drilled open hole horizontals with acid fracs. And back in the late 90s, we were actually already doing multi-stage packer jobs. So we were the start of that back in the late 90s, and it was really interesting. We did them basically so that we had more, we'll call it oil and gas, KH. We had more thickness, more rock, and it helped the CO2 floods be better.
Wow.
So that's where I started. We drilled verticals and horizontals, and those guys taught me how to be a good engineer. I spent my first 5 years in the field, and they made me learn how to fix a flow line leak. My nearest pump jack was literally, I could throw a rock at it. I worked for Texaco for the first 5 years, and then went through the Chevron merger and worked for Chevron the second 5. So I moved into reservoir about 10 years in, and I've been a reservoir engineer ever since, and that's what helped me start my own oil and gas company. So I got my MBA back in 2003, and that has helped me also run my business. But it's been a hell of a ride. I've been all over the world, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I love oil and gas.
That's awesome.
What made you want to take the leap into getting in oil and gas? Because I could imagine, it's a little different now. There's more women in the industry, but I'm sure when you got your start, it was few and far in between. So one, what made you say, all right, the oil and gas industry is the industry for me. And then what was that like being one of the first women to really take that industry on?
Well, my dad, my granddad, and my great granddad were in oil and gas. So I went to college on a Sid Richardson scholarship, which, if anybody knows Sid Richardson, he's one of kind of the founding Texas oil men from the 20s and 30s. And my dad took me to a coal bed methane location. They were cavitating a gas well when I was 12. And we were sitting there and we were watching. He was a packer hand for Halliburton, and a special tools operator for 40 years. And we were sitting there on location. It's this huge flare out the side of the rig. And I told him, I said, Dad, I want to do that. I want to do what you do. And he told me, no, Leslie, you do not want to be out here on the rig. You want to be telling that rig where to go. You need to be a petroleum engineer. And I was like, oh. So I was the first person in my family to go to college. So, I didn't have a whole lot of guidance. I didn't know what that meant. And I said, well, so what do I have to do? And he was like, well, you got to get really good grades, take all the hardest classes in high school, and go to a really good college. And by the way, we can help you, but we can't pay for all of that. So I went to Colorado School of Mines and got my bachelor's in petroleum engineering, a mix of scholarships, me working 40 hours a week at a gas station, and my parents helping. And that's what's got me to where I am today. Colorado School of Mines is one of the best petroleum engineering schools in the world. And, I just always loved it. Literally ever since that time that we were sitting next to that gas well in the giant flare, I've loved oil and gas. And I just love giving people the energy that they need to live a good life. It's taken care of my family, and I wouldn't have been able to start my business if I hadn't made good money over the course of many, many years, and had that money in order to invest in my own oil wells and have investors that believe in me, and a team that believes in me to start this company. So that's how I started. My dad, when I did start petroleum engineering in '92, he told me I was crazy. He was like, please don't do that. Because I don't know if you remember '86, it was bad. Jay might remember '86, but it was so bad when I was going to be a petroleum engineer. He's like, please don't, please don't. You're going to get laid off at some point. And I was like, no, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Well, I was fine until about 5 years ago, and I got laid off twice. So that's what made me start to get to the point where I was like, I think I want to start my own oil and gas company. I think I want to focus on the things that I focused on when I was young. Getting oil out of the ground for the least amount of money, doing it the most environmentally safe way we can, and creating value for shareholders one little well at a time. Our average well makes 3 barrels a day.
Wow.
So if we can make it make 5 barrels a day, we did a good job.
You almost doubled.
Yeah, almost double.
Yeah. Well, the expenses are something. So you decided, okay, so where'd you grow up? Where high school did you go to? Are you from Texas?
Well, my parents moved us to Cortez, Colorado when I was 7, and then to Farmington, New Mexico when I was 14, and I went to mines. Okay. So I grew up in Brownfield, Texas. I was born in Lubbock.
Oh my gosh, my grandma is from Brownfield, Texas.
No way.
She is. Nobody's
Don Pemberton. Yeah,
Carl Wilson.
So
Carl Wilson. Kelly Hoffman. Do you know Kelly?
Nope. I'll have to ask my
start listing names.
So I'll have to ask my mom. She might know him because she grew up in Ropesville, which is like a tiny little farm town north of Lubbock. I think it's north of Lubbock. Nope, it's south of Lubbock.
Yeah, south of Lubbock.
Oh my gosh, what a small world. How fun.
No.
Yeah, but I grew up in Cortez and in Farmington because my Halliburton moved my dad to Cortez and then to Farmington. So I graduated from Farmington High School. Go Scorpions! In Farmington, Mexico in '92.
Coal bed methane.
So
Kelly Hoffman is from, he was the previous CEO of Ring Energy out of Midland, and started when they were like 20 barrels a day or 50 barrels a day. Now they went to 16,000 barrels a day, and Kelly was the CEO and from Brownfield. I went to a meeting the other day, and this guy said, I'm from Brownfield. And I said, nobody's from Brownfield. He goes, yeah, I am. And I said, well, do you know Kelly Hoppen? He goes, I grew up 2 doors down from him. He said,
Oh my
he
gosh.
said, you're pretty close to everybody from Brownfield because it's such a small town. But anyway, I reconnected them. Kelly's one of our partners. We're getting ready to drill some wells with him.
Cool.
In Hockley and do some other projects, but yeah, he's from Brownfield. So anyway, Brownfield.
Drilling.
Brownfield.
I love talking about drilling.
Yeah, School of Mines, but it's that looking at that gas flare, I guess, is what really inspired you and really. I mean, if you go to the oil field, there is nothing better. There's nothing, but you can stay in the office for whatever. But if you go to the oil field while they're drilling or while you're bringing back a well or whatever the case may be, that feeling there's second to none.
Yeah, there's nothing like it.
There's nothing exactly. There's nothing like it. I love it. People and the steaks that you can make on the rig and just hang out there and I've done a lot of them, but really a lot of fun. Really a lot of fun.
But the more fun thing is bringing on like a 15,000 barrel a day oil well in West Africa. That's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, my grandmother remembers.
A lot of fun.
My grandmother remembers near Albany when they would bring a well in, they would shut the whole town down and bring everybody out to the well to bring the well in because they brought them in over the derrick, back in the day. No telling how much pressure they are. And today's pressure you have 13, 15,000 psi or whatever all that is. I mean, your car tire has 32 psi. These wells have substantially more than that, so it's just so much pressure that it's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
The
But
thought of having an entire town around a new unconventional pad is kind of scary.
yeah, oh, absolutely, absolutely. Back in the day, they don't do that anymore. But anyway, so you said, okay, I'm a oil and gas business, School of Mines. You got the bug. I call it the bug. School of Mines,
Got the bug.
Texaco, and then Hess, and then you decided that you're going to start your own company, Silver Cross. What was that like, or what did you do to get started or start generating revenue, I guess? What did you buy an asset or did you find an asset?
Well, it took us about a year to find an asset. So what made me start it was I was working for somebody, and I was an investor as well. And that person I couldn't see myself lasting long term and signing a loan note with that person.
Mm.
So that was January of 23. And when I got to that point, it was like, okay, I didn't realize that I can actually do this myself. And I had my best friend, her name's Marcy. She told me, she's like, Leslie, you can do this yourself. Like, you've bought assets, you've been a production engineer, you have enough friends and people you can build a team. Please, just trust yourself. Be confident. You can do this.
We love friends like that.
Yes, she owns her own business. She's owned her own business for 20 years. She's in logistics and shipping, and she provides oil and gas safety coveralls and shipping equipment to oil and gas companies all over the world. And she's the one who went with me to meet him. And she told me, she said, you need to be very careful. And I said, okay. So I kept good records of what was going on. And then when it got to that point, it was just, this is not going to work anymore. Mm. And I started Silver Cross, and Travis, I'd worked with Travis at Encino Energy. Travis was the director of operations and I was the corporate reserves manager. And Travis came on about a month later, and he started looking at deals with me. So there are so many people that helped me, from, the Combo Curve guys, Armand Paradas and Dan Gilitari. They helped me. Drilling Info helped me with a little bit lower cost data package. We got through the first year because we kept our costs down. Now, mind you, we didn't have any revenue for the first year, and my husband owns an insulation franchise. So we had 2 businesses. That business was about 2 years old, and mine was getting off the ground. So it's complete mayhem. My daughter was a senior in high school, and my son at the time was 7th grade. So he's now in ninth grade. If you would have told me 2 years before that I'd be starting my own business with a kid in high school and a kid in college, I would have told you were nuts. It was not the timing I wanted, but it's the timing that God had planned for me. And
Yeah, I
so,
was gonna ask, how did there's a lot of things that entrepreneurs don't really think about that they have to think about, and one of those things is that you have to pick a name for your business, right? So, how did you come across the name Silver Cross Energy Partners?
so it's during that time where I was just frustrated beyond belief with, you know, I can do this myself. Why am I working for somebody else that
Mm,
doesn't have similar goals? And I sat down one weekend. It took me about 2 days and a lot of Googling trying to figure out if the name was already taken. Um, but silver is a virtuous metal,
hmm
right? It's not the prettiest metal. It's not gold. It's not platinum, but it's reliable. It'll be there for a long time. So, cross, Jesus Christ. So, Silver Cross is we are here to get oil and gas out of the ground for the betterment of the people that we provide it to, because that's what God wants us to do.
Oh,
So,
That's awesome.
that's what I'm here for. There's been many things in my life that have happened. I haven't always been as religious as I am, and I'm not like horribly religious, but I know that God has a plan, and it's usually not mine, and it and it's never on my time. And I felt like this was the time that He wanted me to start my own oil and gas company, and so that's how you ended up with Silver Cross is a virtuous metal and the cross, and it's reliable and repeatable, and it will do the right thing um, always, because I'm always going to live my life how He would want me to the best that I can. So
that's
that's how I
beautiful.
came up with the name, and then Travis just he liked the name and hung out with me. And then Danielle showed up about a month later, and Danielle's our controller. Travis is our COO, and I worked with Danielle at a previous company as well. And then last but not least is Jesse. He's our foreman in West Texas, and he worked with me at another company. And I could not ask for a better team. God really put each and every one of them in my life at the right time to be able to start Silver Cross a couple of years after I started meeting them. So
Very good.
they've been they've been a blessing. It's been fun. I wish I would have done it sooner, but I don't think I would have had all the right people in place sooner. So,
Yeah.
Well, that's something that's really interesting, and Jay and I have talked a lot about is building the right team and finding the right people. Um, Jay, I want to know your thoughts about what Leslie's answer for this is, but and see where the crossover is. But when you're building that team, what are the qualities that you're looking for with those team members, Leslie?
so it's really hard to describe, because if you would have asked me this question 5 years ago, I would have said something like, well, they need to be, the best finance person or the best operations engineer or,
Mm,
the best like technical skills, right? When in reality, when you're an entrepreneur and you're starting a business, really what you need more of is you want great technical skills, but they don't have to be the absolute 100% best, although my team has the best. Um, you really want people that don't focus on them alone.
mm,
You want people that want what's best for the group, are willing to take on other jobs that are not in their job description and they may not know how to do, right? Um,
right. The
they may
willingness
not.
to learn, the curiosity component, I feel like that is typically something that, y- like what you're describing almost sounds like you're looking for people who have that leadership quality.
Yeah, it's a leadership quality and the ability to be calm under stress,
Mm,
and the ability to know it's okay to get the 80% answer. It doesn't have to be 100%, because we just don't have that amount of time. Um, but also to understand what that 20% you're leaving behind is. You may have to clean it up later, right? Um, and people that also have the same morals and values that you are. And that's probably the hardest thing to measure.
mm,
Having started out with somebody else who just, we didn't have aligned morals and values, and our families didn't live in similar ways. you know, it's it's hard to explain how important it is that the people that you're with, you need to be able to literally sign a check on their bank account and they sign a check on your bank account. Like
Mhm.
if because in my case, I started the company, we're spending money on my credit,
Right.
right? So you have to be willing to let these people spend money on your credit if you're the key founder, right? And as it gets bigger, they will come in and start spending money on their credit. But when it first starts, when you're the idea person, it's on your credit, and that's a lot to hand over because it's your family, right?
Yeah.
And my husband was like, Leslie, that's a lot of money. Starting an oil and gas company when you're buying like millions of dollars in assets, um, that's not for the weak-hearted.
No, it
I'll
doesn't
be the
sound like it.
first.
Sounds very nerve-wracking, is what it
It
sounds like.
was.
Yeah, let's
It
walk through
still
that a
is.
little bit. I like to know more about what you bought or how you're building your business and all. But you're right. I mean, team members, it's not about them. It's about us. It's about, hey, we have to make sure that we're all doing the right thing. I love people that it's not a square peg in a round hole. They know what to do because of what their job requirements are, and if they say, hey, I can do a reserve report, or I can look at a well and fix it, and there's some people that just can't, and you don't want them being in the position of we had a well one time, and a guy went out there and he started, kind of turning around the knobs or something on the well, real deep gas well, and I'm like, whoa, 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 don't do that. That could kill everybody around here, making sure that you do the right thing. But also too, I think it's, if people say or they do what they say they're going to do, it's so important. And if they don't, they fess up to it, but they get it done. Say, okay, hey, I had 10 things to do last week. I did 9. I've got 1 left. I'm going to do it this way. It's like communication, people that do what they say they're going to do, and obviously people that are the right fit for the job. I think those are big. But you bought assets, or you're buying assets. So did you go, are these operated assets, all operated, or is this some wells that you bought a piece of, or what did you start with?
So our first asset last year, we spent majority of the year looking for oil and gas assets that were in the $5 to $15 million um, kind of size. They're all operated assets. So we purchased our first assets in December. It was 2 packages in Andrews and Crane County, Texas. And we have 119 wells, about 100 of them are producers, and there's probably 15, 19 injectors. We produce about 220 barrels a day gross. Um, so we purchased those wells from a small operator in Midland. Um, Literally, just it was a contact of mine that I made in my previous job, and he called me about something and told me they were selling assets, and I said, hey, can I look at him? And he said, sure. 2 days later, Travis and I put an offer in, and 2 months later we closed in December of last year. So our first assets, the first one in Andrews, we closed on December 1st. It's about 100 barrels a day gross, um, 85 80 to 85 barrels a day net oil, mostly oil. And these are all just old oil wells that St. Andrews, Clear Fork, uh, Devonian, a little bit of everything. And we got both the wells and some of the land. They depth severed part of it. But that's kind of what we're looking for, is we're in the world where we'll buy $2 million worth of wells, we'll buy $500,000 worth of wells, as long as it adds value. Being a reservoir engineer, I know what's going to add value and what's not. Travis is more of a hardcore production engineer, so he and I fight all the time because he's like, Leslie, I can't get the cost down, I can't keep the cost down. And Danielle is usually the person who breaks the tie when we're getting ready to buy something. She's the accountant, and she goes off of our moods. Travis and I, who's you know who's more logical at the time, but it's a great team, and Travis and I balance each other out well. And he's kept us out of buying some things that I would have bought that, looking back, I'm really glad we didn't. And at the same time, I've brought us into some stuff that he was, not sure about. And it's been a great, it's been a great process for us. And we did not have any revenue coming in. We were literally living off savings in my house. Travis's wife works for another oil and gas company. She's a geologist. So, but Danielle and I had no income coming in. So when we got to the end of last year, it was one of those moments where I was like, "Oh, we've got to do something to get some income coming in because I can't continue doing this." I did it for about 9 months, and it was hard watching the bank account go the other direction. Yeah. And my financial advisor also did not like how direction it was going. But once we got our first paychecks, the last paycheck of 2023, and that was a special moment. That was, I knew it would be okay at that point because we finally had some income. And when we bought our assets, they were cash flowing immediately. We didn't have to drill anything. We were just picking up old oil and gas wells. So we paid for them. And then we have an investor group that is a small percentage of the assets. So we own a majority and then they own a portion of it. And we have an LLC agreement that says that they pay our overhead a certain amount, and then it goes down over the course of a couple of years as we continue to grow.
What's that been like balancing home life and the entrepreneurial lifestyle? You have the financial, I'm not going to say struggle because it's not a struggle, but it is, for lack of a better word, a burden because, that's heavy. So when you're looking at managing your life with your kids, managing your relationship with your partner, having these added stress factors into your life, and then continuing forward, what was that like to balance your life with all of these, balls that you're juggling in the air?
So my kids, I have the best kids in the world. And I have my husband, that guy's a saint. There's nobody else that could deal with me other than him. We've been married for 24 years. It'll be 25 next year.
Congratulations.
And, thank you. You get to the point where you are I'm very honest with my kids. Whenever, we were burning cash, we sat down and, they'd always been able to have whatever they wanted, right? Mm-hmm. If they wanted to go to Saltgrass or they wanted to go on a trip to Costa Rica. I mean, we've gone all over the world. They've never had to worry about money, ever. And for the first time, my husband is like, Leslie, we've got to slow down the cash flow out. Quit eating at Chick-fil-A.
It's hard. We love the Chick-fil-A.
I know, and we live in the middle of nowhere. We live on 2 acres southwest of Houston, and so Chick-fil-A is on my way into town and on my way home. So he
don't forget Starbucks. Everybody knows about Starbucks once or twice a day too. Well, that adds up. Chick-fil-A and Starbucks.
And those are value added wise. Chick-fil-A is much more value added than Starbucks, right?
You heard it
here. We just had a long discussion with the kids and we said, mommy is starting a new company. It costs a lot of money to start an oil and gas company, but when we do this, we'll have more income and she'll be able to be around you more. And, my kids, I worked a lot when I worked for other companies. I was gone a lot. My kids did not know me. And, my son told me about 2 weeks ago, he said, Mom, I can talk to you more. I said, well, am I a better mom now than I was 2 years ago? He's like, well, you're not better, but you're easier to talk to. And I feel like you know more about me. And that broke my heart, right? Because I'd made really good money. I mean, to start my own oil company, I had to have made really good money, right?
Right.
But my kids didn't see me as much. My husband is great. He took care of them. We're a team, but they know me better now. I've actually got more balance in my life than I've ever had in my entire 25-year career. And mind you, it's crazy, but I have the ability to, take off and go watch my son play a golf tournament if I want to. Now I'm going to have to probably work until 11 p.m. to do what I should have done because I was at the golf tournament. But I've got that ability now, and that ability before was I had it in places, but just internally you have that thing that tells you have to be in the office, right?
Right.
Mhm.
And here I don't have to be in an office. Like I've worked in my car, I've worked in Paneras, I've worked in hotel rooms. I've taken my son to play golf in Colorado and taken my computer with me. Like I've learned to live my life in a way that is more balanced, and my kids and my husband see me more. And that has been very enlightening for me as a person, and also it's helped me be a better person. If you talk to my tribe, my Bible study group has been with me for 15 years, and my best friend will tell you I'm much more balanced now than I was 3 or 4 years ago.
That's great.
So
How hard is it, or how hard was it to find money? You have team, you got your team together, money, and then the asset, and when you found the asset, did you find the money, or how hard was it to find the money?
finding the money was probably equally as hard to finding the asset, because all money is not equal. Travis and I had both been through some PE groups, and private equity they have a lot of control.
Yeah.
And when we're 60% of the asset, why would you give away control to private equity whenever we own 60% of it?
Right.
So we had more than one potential investor who wanted PE type control, but they didn't have PE type money coming in, right? So all investors are not equal. There were some that there's a lot of money in the system here in Houston. We found that the private family offices are the place where we have aligned goals with a 5 to 10 year horizon for oil and gas investments. Our investor group is a mix of it's one private family office and then four of my friends here in Houston that I've known for a long time. So, but when you're investing with your friends, it's actually also kind of hard because they call and ask you questions, and you give them the completely and totally honest answer, and then they all talk to each other, and then they come back with more questions, and that consumes your time, right? So, and then it's harder for you to run the company because you feel like they are your friend. You need to have a conversation with them, right? So finding the money, all money is not equal. I made a lot of phone calls. I made a lot of connections with people over the course of the last 3 years here in Houston. And we ultimately found the right people to invest with us. But it literally, the last couple of people, the last probably 200 grand was in like the last week before we had to close. And so we were literally down to the wire where it was like, okay, are Travis and I and Danielle going to have to put in more money? We didn't want to. We only wanted to be 60% because we wanted a group of people that would grow with us. But we finally got to the point where we got an LLC agreement that our last investor was willing to live with. And that finding the money was probably the thing that I am the least good at. Like I can find properties all day long. I can figure out what they're worth. I know the finance side from my MBA world, but raising money, I had no clue how to do it. But I have enough friends here in Houston that would say, Leslie, you need to talk to this person. They might know people that help you. And we have a couple of different people here in Houston that now are really good friends. And our lawyer, Rachel Reese and Associates, she's connected me with a lot of people too. And Rachel started her own business as well. She legal group, and it literally is just connections, and it literally is just your reputation that will get you connected to the right people and the right money. And if your reputation is that you're a shyster, they'll connect you with shyster type people. If your reputation is that you make good business decisions and you'll do what's right for your investors, you'll get connected to those kind of people.
You know,
So
this is interesting and something that, we've known about the energy industry, and that is it's ROR, it's return on relationships. And so when you build those relationships and as you say, your reputation speaks for you and you're able to connect with people that are like-minded with those goals. And when you have that team surrounding you and you are in that truth, and then you're around others that are in alignment with that, it does seem to flourish. This is something also that Jay has brought up in other conversations, whether that's a one-on-one interview that we've done or conversations with other guests, and that is what you're talking about, which is not all money is equal. And so I'm curious, as somebody who's myself, I'm really interested in the entrepreneurial quest, as it were. But when you're looking at that money, in the beginning, I'm sure it's really nerve-wracking and you're kind of wide-eyed and, oh my gosh, this is a lot going on. But is it easier to spot along the way as you go forward with, okay, I think that money is not the type of money I want to take. That's going to have some strings attached to it. Was it the people that were behind it? Or attached to that money, or was it the businesses? Was it just the way they operated? Like, what was that about that money that you were like, I don't know, my red flag's going off. This doesn't seem to be what I thought it might have been.
sometimes, so depending on how many layers you get away from your core network, if you start to get like 2 or 3 layers away from your core network, I've had some situations where I didn't even know if the money was really there,
Oh, interesting.
right? So
Wow.
I've dealt with some people that um, somebody would connect me with, and it was like two layers down. Talking to them, I'm like, this is not the person with the money. This person,
Oh,
this
I see.
person
So,
says they have money, but their money is coming from somebody else.
mm,
And depending on where that money is coming from, if they start telling me, well, my money is wealthy, wealthy Saudi Arabian money, I'm like, you don't have any money. Because the Saudis, they just some other parts of the world, the money is not there until it's in your bank account. Even if you have a signed agreement, I worked in Malaysia for a couple of years. Even if you have a signed agreement, that doesn't mean you're going to get the money. That
Mhm.
just means
really,
you signed an
why is
agreement.
that?
Yeah,
Why
it's
is that?
I don't know. It's just a different part of the world, and they don't want to lose face, so they're going to hold out until the last minute, until they absolutely have to give you the money. They don't always act on it, and it may be that somebody in the middle signed the agreement, but the person who really
Oh,
had the ability to actually commit the money was somewhere higher and didn't didn't know, or basically their priorities changed. Um, so the farther you get away from the person who's actually making the decision,
mm,
you've got to figure out, does this person make the decision, or does this person go back to a group, or does this person go back to a billionaire, or does this person go back to a family? In the case of our private family office that invests with us, I am really good friends with the person who brought this group to us, and he he knew the other two guys who were running this family office. And the family office, when we finally talked to them, the guy who's a majority of the money actually wanted to talk to us. And I was like, okay, the fact that the guy that's providing him the majority of the money was on the phone with me and Travis and Danielle, okay, I can live with that money. I can talk to this guy, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, and he was a businessman. He'd been in banking for 40 years. But figuring out like who is actually giving you the money is really, really, really important. Or who's actually making the decision, if it's a pension fund or like a Prudential or something. Um, it has to go back to a committee. If you can find a connection to some people that are higher in the organization, like I've had to do over the course of the year, that helps too. So we've got connections now to some PE groups that we know the MD in that group, And so I know I'll work with the people that, you know, that he sends to me. But ultimately, I may end up calling him and saying, "Hey, are you really interested?" And he'll tell me the truth, right? He'll say, "Well, we're interested, but it needs to be a little bit bigger." We get that. We get that a lot. A lot of the PE groups want stuff that's 25 million plus. We've been playing in the less than 20 million most of the time. We've had a couple of deals that are in the 60 million world. Um, but talking to people is really important to understand who's making the decision and can you live with that person helping you, because they will, investors help you make decisions. Sometimes it's not helpful, sometimes it is. But that group of people, like there's a guy here in Houston who has done very, very well for himself that we talk to quite a bit, and he almost invested with us, and we just decided that, you know, the strings that he wanted for this deal we weren't willing to take those strings. Now, another deal, a bigger deal, where he had more money in it, I think we really liked his team and we liked him as a person and the way he thought. But, you know, it has to be the right deal and it has to be the right money and it has to be the right person behind the money. Because Lord knows you do not want to get money that is not aligned with, you know, your 5 to 10 year goal, that wants to flip in, you know, a year or two. All money is not created equal, and some money, I know people in oil and gas that have gotten money that all they want is just to take money out of the business. So you got to be careful that you don't get people that
Yeah, we've done it.
just want distributions and don't want to grow the business with you.
We've been there. We've done that. That was a 2018-19 lesson that Jordan and I have talked about before. Because all money's bad. I mean, all money's not good. There's just so many different deals, and matters how much money is there and how much money do they have in it. Do they know about the oil and gas business, which our group didn't. That was not their expertise, but they were a huge $100 billion fund, and they ended up with equitizing the loan, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's hard. But I tell you what, I'm really pleased that you took it upon yourself, because I mean, you're a reservoir engineer, and reservoir engineers are normally the people that look at decline curves, and they look at production decline curves, and they tell the geologist or they tell the owner, we can't do this deal because of, right? I mean, it's like you're in the realistic world more than the geologist, or, you know, and you all of a sudden put on a different hat, as my buddy would say, put on a different hat and you go sell and you go raise money. That is awesome. That is really great. I look up to you for that. That is great.
It's been a lot of fun, but it's been stressful.
Yeah. Well, you took no, you did not take no for an answer. I mean, it's like you just kept on and on and on and on, and you got down to the last couple of 100,000. I mean, I'm not sure how big the transaction, but it was millions of dollars. I mean, 5 to 15 million, as you mentioned, picked up 200 barrels a day. And man, that is really great, because petroleum engineers are not the people that go out and start raising money. And I'll just say it like that. You're talking about putting the square peg in the round hole. Normally, if somebody comes into our shop and we have a money raised inside, and people go, yeah, hey, I know everything about the oil business. I know everything there is to know about the oil business, and I can talk to you about the oil business. I say, good. Well, you're not in sales, because you're going to talk people out of it, or you're going to tell them too much information, or whatever the case may be. But you found it, and
I
really
tell too much information. Travis is all the time telling me, you don't need to tell them that.
Yeah, exactly. How much is it? How much can I make? I mean, that's normally the good things about. But anyway, good job on that. That's really great. So what's next? We got to wrap up in about 5 minutes, but I wanted to make sure that I ask, what's next for you guys?
Well, we're continuing to purchase oil and gas assets. So we're looking at the fourth quarter is always crazy. Last part of the third quarter, first part of the fourth quarter. And we've got some deals that we've both self-sourced, and we've got some deals that are just marketed type deals that we're looking at. And our hope is that we can pick another 200 to 500 barrels a day up by the end of the year. We would like to be at 1,000 barrels a day by the end of the year, but 500 is the number one goal. And that's our goal, is to pick up another couple hundred barrels a day by the end of the year and use our existing assets to fund that. And also, we're going to have to raise some capital in order to do that as well. So just do what we did last year, fourth quarter, do it again this year. And if we can get to 1,000 barrels a day, the goal is to continue to use those assets to grow basically an annuity. We're growing an annuity for our investors and throw off cash so that we can all use our money to provide energy to all the people here in the U.S. People do not realize America has a special energy industry. It is not this way anywhere else in the world. Having lived in Malaysia, having traveled to Russia, and the Permian Basin is the most special place in the world because the people there will they will help you do anything. My connections in Midland, Texas from 30 years ago have helped me build my company. And shout out to Michelle Estes, because we couldn't do it without her, and we couldn't do it without our foreman, Jesse. And carry on. We're going to find more oil wells and buy more little piddly oil wells from people that don't want them.
Yeah.
Typically, a mid-sized to major oil and gas company is who we buy from.
That's right. That's
Well,
great.
I have one last question, Jay. I'll let you wrap up really quick your thought, and then I've got my one question. You know it already, Jay.
Well, no, I was going to say, if you're in the oil and gas business, what business would you be in? What do you think you would have
Good question.
would have done?
What would I do if I wasn't in oil and gas? Man, that's hard because that's my life.
Yeah.
I can tell you what it would not be. It would not be construction.
Especially in Midland.
That's just for us running that insulation business. But if I could do anything, I don't know, probably something related to health and wellness. I'd be like a functional doctor. As life has gone on, and I've had to deal with, my daughter is she's high functioning autistic. And I wish that I would have realized earlier on how I could have helped her sooner. We finally, she's fine now, but it took us until she was about 16 years old to figure out exactly what was going on. She graduated from high school and she's going to school to be a mortician.
Wow.
So that's for another podcast. That's been really interesting.
Wow.
But I would probably be a functional doctor, something to the extent of helping people live healthy lives, because your health is the most important thing. I couldn't do any of what I do without it. And I wish I would have realized that 25 years ago when I was a young buck and skiing moguls in Colorado.
Yeah.
Because now my knees are bad.
Health, wellness,
Well,
and also
no joke. And when you accidentally get into him, when you are a snowboarder, like you're like, how do I escape?
Oh my gosh.
You slide down the side.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Well, Leslie, my last question for you here is, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self, looking at the journey that you've been on thus far in your career?
The first thing that comes to my head is you might have a plan, but that's probably not God's plan. So be willing to fail and pick up the pieces and try again. And that is like the story of my life. That's why I keep, Jay, you mentioned, like, I keep picking up and trying again and trying again. That's the story of my life. Is it will not be your plan. It will not be what you thought it was going to be. But if you have the right attitude and you learn something each time, and try not to relearn the same mistakes more than once, although you may from time to time, just keep moving ahead and keep trying, and try to be open-minded about the opportunities that people put in front of you. But also, be cognizant of the people that are putting them in front of you, because relationships are more important than the opportunity most of the time.
That's great.
Excuse
Bless
me.
you.
Sorry.
Bless you. And I'll tell you, that's one of the biggest the thing that I love about this podcast is meeting people like Leslie I mean, she's a petroleum engineer, and all of a sudden she comes in and starts to start her own business, and she's got a great family, and she learns and she doesn't stop. And that's the biggest thing. How do you not say, okay, you're right, let me go back to Texaco or well, not Texaco anymore, but how do I go back to Pioneer or there's an Endeavor, there's tons of oil and gas businesses. You could just very easily at some point, just go back and start at one of those companies because they were looking for people just like you. You could have done that, but no, you decided to stay in, and you're not going to take no for an answer. You're going to get your deal done. You're already at 200 barrels a day. A minute ago you said, if we get to 1,000, no, I guarantee you're going to hit 1,000 barrels a day. You're going to get to 1,000. You're going to go above that. I feel it. Don't you, Jordan?
I feel it.
Yeah, I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Silver Cross Energy Partners. I'm really excited about the future for you guys, and that's
Congratulations, on starting this. By the way, that is incredible.
Really
Do
is.
you know how many women oil and gas CEOs that started their own company? How many of those there are?
Oh, probably a handful, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know any others. So if you find some, would you please connect me to them?
Yeah.
So one.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody. I know people that have started legal groups and the support type groups and service companies, but I don't know any other woman who has started her own oil and gas E&P company.
Yeah. No,
So
you're right.
please connect me because we need to have a session, a
Yes.
psychology session.
If you know
Well,
someone,
especially-
put them in the comments below.
Yeah.
Tag them so that one, we can interview them, and two, we can connect them with Leslie.
Yeah. Well,
Thank
especially somebody. Hey, and also too, where do we find you? You're on Silver Cross website. I'm sure you have a website. I looked at it. It looks awesome. How can we help you? What kind of connections can we help you with, Leslie?
We need more oil and gas wells. So
You need
what
more
I
oil
could
and gas
really
wells?
do, what I could really use is connection to finding more oil wells. We're always looking for investors that have similar goals to ours. And quite frankly, I will talk to anybody that loves oil and gas and wants to help us or needs our help for something. I love what I do. The people that I work with love what we do. And help us find more oil wells and help us find more money.
Hey, we'd love to. If you have some property you want to go do some horizontal drilling, we'd love to drill. That's part of our deal. So if you have some property you want to joint venture on and drill, man, we're not about drill baby drill. I'm not going to go to Trump. We're not going to go that side of it, but we do love drilling. Our investors love drilling because they get the write-off. So they love that part of it, and I'm really excited to get. We're going
Do
to
you have
have what?
do you have a geologist on staff?
Yeah, we have two. Yeah, we got two geologists. We're looking at a big deal today. We look at bills all the time, so absolutely.
Let's have a chat and we can talk about our acreage in Andrews and Crane County.
Yeah, Kelly Hoffman knows that. He was in the Permian Masco unit for a long time back in the 90s when I knew him. He was in the Permian Masco, but he's been all over that area. But anyway, would love to.
That's right north of us, by the way. Furman Masco is right north of our Holt lease.
Oh, is it? Yeah, he flipped that back in 97, 8, something like that. But anyway, drilled some wells back when the fax machines. I went into his office one time. They had like 2 or 3 rigs running, and the fax machine was coming out with the logs because they were logging the well. They were logging the well in Andrews, Furman Masco, and the logs were coming out on a fax machine. And man, that was blowing my mind. Like, talk about high tech. This is unbelievable. How can somebody be logging a well in Andrews County out in the middle of nowhere? You're getting a fax machine in Dallas, Texas. I mean, just imagine, and of course today I got live coverage right now on my phone, any well we're drilling or fracking or anything. But anyway, hey, Leslie, I have really enjoyed today. Jordan, I'm so honored to have Leslie on the show and to learn more about her.
It was such a good chat.
Man, it wasn't easy starting a company like that. Good for you. Good for you. That is awesome. I'm really pleased about that. Next time we're going to have we're going to go to a coach. Ryan Mitchell is going to be a coach, or he is a coach, 9-time high school, 9 state championships. We're going to talk about him. But everybody go to Silver Cross, learn more about Leslie. If you have any money or if you have any properties, that's to talk to Leslie about. If you have some drilling stuff, we're into the drilling part. We love that. And but anyway, everybody, thank you so much for being here today. I'm honored to have 2 beautiful ladies on both sides of me here on the show today, and I'm blessed. And
a very dapper man in the middle. Lest we forget.
Well, thank you. We're still trying.
Very
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Everybody have a great day. What's that? Oh.
I said brand new haircut too.
I got a brand new haircut, a little color on the side here. Don't want it to be totally gray, man. But anyway,
until Friday.
Love you guys. Until Friday. Until next time. Thank you very much for being here.